خلاص, it's done. Okay? There is no hope in such a society or a group or an individual. Okay? Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us guidance. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. Now it is different now. It's different because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling on those that they will respond with words, not with sounds. Okay? That is a human being now. A human being reaching their potential. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, you know that there is guidance coming. You're sitting up, opening your ear, ready to understand. And Allah gives us words. With these words, we understand certain things. Okay? Kulu. Now eat. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just said not few ayat ago, talk to mankind and kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. Okay, eat from the earth halalan tayyib. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling on a believer. It says, kulu mimma fil ardi, kulu mimma razaqnakum min tayyibati ma razaqnakum. Eat from the tayyibat that we provided for you. So now you know that this is provided by Allah. Okay, but now you have a choice what to eat and what not to eat in it. Meaning that there is an animal, you know, that you need to eat. Okay, the meat, the beef or the lamb. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this has to be halal and tayyib. Okay, the halal and tayyib is the advice that's given to the disbelievers. But now Allah talking to the believers, so the halal is already accepted with them. They know they're not going to go to halal. But now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes what is halal. But first says it's tayyib. Tayyib meaning, tayyib, a word that means kind. Something that is kind. If you're describing a human being. If you're describing something that is tayyib, if you're describing a fruit that is tayyib, that means it reached its peak of what it's created for. It is not it's not picked before it ripes, and it's not left until it overripe. Okay, if you pick it and eat it before it is ripe, it is bitter. Like if you wait until it overripe, it becomes sour. But when it is just right, it is tayyib. Okay. So that which animals that you slaughter and so forth and so on. Now this is tayyib. This could be slaughtered and could be cooked. It could be, you do whatever it is that you want to do with it. And there is a food that when you eat, you are pleased and you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. But so it is not recommended to eat food that is spoiled. And you say maybe no. Okay? Do not go to something that is not pleasing when you are eating it. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. And thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you are worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning here is the direction is given in more details, okay, about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. You accept the guidance, Allah will give you more guidance. When Allah said, eat only halal, okay, now let me tell you what is halal is. Let me tell you what tayyib is. Okay? إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله. Okay? الميتة, that dead, the animal that dies without slaughter. والدم, the blood. But the blood, الدم المسفوح, the blood that comes out with the slaughtering, not the blood that remains. Okay? Because any kind of meat, halal meat, when you get it, when you're cooking it, you'll find some blood that will come out of it. That is not the blood that is haram. Okay? And the flesh of the swine flesh is haram. And that which is slaughtered, okay, and slaughtered mechanically, meaning physically the way it is prescribed or described. You get a knife and you slaughter from the neck and all the blood is drained or the blood is drained and so forth. Okay, that's halal? No. If other name beside the name of Allah is mentioned on it as it's being slaughtered. Okay, so now go ahead and use your intellect there now. How you going to figure that out? You don't. A believer takes this and go with it. Khalas, it's done. But a disbeliever can try to argue about this. Tells you, so you stand here and you slaughter a chicken. Okay, mechanically here from this side to that side and so forth, and you hold it and you feed it first and then you let it rest and you do this and that. Okay, and somebody next to you doing the same thing. And you said one word and he said a slight different word. Okay, he said the same sentence with one word that's different. Bism, and they say Bismillah. Okay, and somebody else start the sentence with the same word but mention the second word differently. Then that becomes haram and this becomes halal. Now try to make sense out of that. Okay? Remember when we talked about, they argued about how they argued with the believers, the disbelievers, and shayateen give them inspiration, wahi, to argue with the believers. Telling the believers what? So when you slaughter something, it's halal. When you kill it yourself, it is halal. But when a God kills it, then it is haram. Does that make any sense to you? Okay, you're a human being. You do something, and the one you worship does the same thing, and you know what you do is becomes okay, and what God does is haram. Okay, this is how shayateen gives wahy to the shayateen al-ins. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is showing us that here is a believer takes it as it is. Takes it as it is. Direction. Now, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us what the difference is? Okay, and how could be the difference? And what is the difference between the blood that runs after the slaughter and the blood that stays in the body, like the liver and the spleen? As Rasulullah said, it is okay to eat even though it has a lot of content of blood in it. So Rasulullah gave us an exception. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us an exception of the rule, but through a different text. Okay, and that is also, a direction that we should take. That the Quran is saying something, and then the Hadith is making an exception. Okay, so Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us, that is al-mayta wad-dam. Al-mayta, the dead, is haram. Ad-dam, the blood, is haram, except 2 deads and 2 blood. Oh, here's an exception. It is not from the Quran. It is from wahy, but the hadith. Right? So Rasulullah ﷺ said, the dead is haram except the locust and the fish, the dead of the sea. Not the fish, the dead of the sea. Okay? So that's an exception. So you find a fish that is dead without being slaughtered. You eat it. You say, no, I'm going by the Quran alone. Then you have to slaughter a fish while it's alive, if you're going by the Quran alone. Okay, but we are going by the revelation still, by the revelation through the hadith. And grasshopper, if it dies as it is like this, you eat it. Do you have to eat it? No. You can say, I don't eat it. But if somebody, is hungry and eats it, you cannot say it's haram, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it haram through the revelation, through the hadith. Okay. And two bloods that are halal, the liver and the spleen. Rasulullah makes an exception. Then we take it as it is. What is the difference and so forth? Jazakallahu khairan. Jazakallahu khairan. Bismillah. So that's an exception. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows His rahmah in this. Tell us, فَمَنُ الطُّرَّ, the one who is in absolute need, اضطرار. اضطرار, that is, you are in absolute need. غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. Okay. Allah is the most forgiving and the most merciful. Okay. So, and that goes for all the rules. Okay, the rules of the halal and the haram. If the haram is there and you're in absolute need, then you can take from the haram to remove the need, to remove the harm. Okay, remove the harm, and you stop. You do not go any further than that once the harm is stopped. Okay, so that is a rule, a general rule. Okay. As the other day, someone sent in a video about someone is giving an example. It says the riba is haram, but now people making riba halal and so forth. And they say because you are in need now, you're going to go ahead. And then he compares this to zina. He says that if you want to get married and then there is no opportunity and you cannot get married and so forth, would you go and commit zina and so forth? Say, well, I'm in need and so forth. But that's not a comparison. You're not comparing, as they say, apple to apple here, right? If you have somebody who's married and have 12 children, okay. I know a family that has 11 children. Let them go and rent a place. Okay, they have to rent a special place that would be allowed, a mansion. And now they have to pay $8,000 a month for rent. Now it is cheaper for them, or they cannot afford this. But then they can actually buy something because the payment for this is a lot less, for example. So that is اضطرار. But you cannot apply this on zina. No, that's not. It does not, apply the same thing. So لا ضرر ولا ضرار. There is no harm. Okay. There are rules of fiqh. Okay, rules of fiqh. They are basic. They are basic. That from those rules, all other rules of fiqh is being derived from. Okay? So, and inshallah, this is something that we all need to learn, inshallah. So, now what is the rule? The harm. You should not cause any harm or allow any harm to happen to you. Okay? So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the rule here. فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ, when there is an absolute need. غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ. Okay? Do not transgress on this here. Do not go beyond the limit here. Okay? So long that when you are in your limit, go ahead. So now, if you don't do that and allow the harm to happen to you, that is, you are responsible for this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you a gift and you are refusing it and you cause harm to yourself. You shouldn't do that. Okay? But it is haram. Right now it is allowed. So the haram could never be halal, but could be allowed. Okay? Allowed because of some absolute need. Okay? So here is within these beautiful ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets principles, okay, that you as a human being need guidance. And when you take the guidance, you need to have sense. You do not take guidance from those who are misguided and they are doing something with a result that is so harmful and you're still following your forefathers. Okay? It doesn't work that way. Okay? You do not be like an animal because you cannot be an animal. You are created differently. Okay? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now gives example and gives guidance to the believers that you can now. Here is the direction as far as food are concerned. Here's the direction of where to go in here. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us to give us guidance and loves us to give us excuses as well. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Please, if you'd like to make any comments, inshallah.
In Ziba, in Islamic way.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back. Tfaddal, go ahead.
Yeah, because the blood is drained out of it. And blood has a lot of pathogen in it, the germs, got disease. And in Islamic way of Ziba, drain the maximum blood out of the animal. Compared to if you just cut the whole neck, blood will stay in the organs,
Yes.
the meat and
Yes.
flesh. Therefore, if you see their steaks, there's a lot of blood in that. And that can transfer a lot of diseases. This swine, there are parasites in that, the flesh of swine, which can cause a lot of diseases in the brain, which is well known, the science. So
Finally, now we are seeing the wisdom, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give us the detail. Yeah, it's just harmful. That's it. Yeah. Subhanallah.
Also, this creator, this science, they are supposed to be the most intellectually and people with the most knowledge. But they just take the creator out of equation.
Yes.
You see all their, especially you see the space and all that. They never think there could be a creator there. People looking at extraterrestrial life and aliens and, it's interesting that people who are supposed to have most knowledge, they don't even think of creator compared to this.
Yeah. Yeah. You have little children understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's concept of Tawheed in a very, in the fitrah captured, their natural state captured very clearly. But when it is corrupted, if it is corrupted, then the fitrah is corrupted, does not take that which makes sense. Okay, أخونا صديق تفضل.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, today we continue with Surah Al-Baqarah and we did 4 ayahs, ayah number 170 to 173. Like the Shaykh mentioned, in the first ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the ittiba, means to follow. Now people have in their nature, Allah has created human beings and it's in their nature, they will follow something. So Allah wants them to follow what